What happens when America's sweetheart, Kelly Clarkson, finds herself in the most uncomfortable interview of her career? What began as a routine appearance on the Today Show quickly unraveled into live television chaos that left viewers stunned. Producers scrambling behind the scenes, and Craig Melvin sitting in silence. This is the story of how a single question about Kelly's personal life spiraled into a confrontation so tense that she walked off the set leaving millions of viewers wondering what they had just witnessed. The morning had started like any other inside NBC's Rockefeller Plaza studios. Kelly Clarkson, fresh from another successful season of The Kelly Clarkson Show, arrived to promote her latest album and upcoming tour. Spirits were high. Crew members joked casually, makeup artists worked with ease, and the studio energy was upbeat, as if everyone expected a feel-good 8-minute segment that would highlight Kelly's trademark charm and warmth. Kelly herself was in good spirits, greeting staff by name, laughing with assistants, and carrying the down-to-earth presence that had endeared her to America since her American Idol days. Craig Melvin, ever the consummate professional, reviewed his notes and smiled. On paper, this was as standard as morning television gets, as the bright lights came up and the cameras rolled. Everything appeared to fall into place. Craig welcomed Kelly with genuine enthusiasm, praising her accomplishments and segueing into questions about her new album. Kelly lit up, speaking passionately about her creative process, her songwriting collaborations, and how this record reflected the highs and lows of her personal journey. The chemistry was easy, the laughs effortless. For the first few minutes, it was exactly what both sides had expected: polished, pleasant, and safe. Then Craig leaned forward. "Now I have to ask, Kelly, your fans are always curious about your personal life. You've been very open about your divorce. How are you doing these days, and are you seeing anyone special?" The question seemed routine-soaked enough for daytime TV, but something shifted. Kelly's smile didn't fade, but her pause was noticeable. She answered warmly, though, with a faint edge, "You know, Craig, I'm in a really good place. My focus is on my kids, my career, and just taking things one day at a time. That's the healthiest choice for me right now." It was the kind of answer designed to move on. But Craig didn't. "That's wonderful to hear," he pressed, his tone light. "There have been some rumors lately about you and a certain someone. Any truth to that?" Kelly's expression tightened. Her reply came quickly, polite but firm. "I prefer to keep my private life private. My fans understand and respect that boundary." Most hosts would have pivoted. Craig didn't. He leaned in further. Of course, but your fans love you, Kelly. They want to see you happy. Can you give us just a little hint what makes you happy these days outside of work?" This time, there was no mistaking the shift. Kelly's posture stiffened, her hands clasping together in her lap. The air in the studio thickened as the camera caught the subtle tightening of her jaw. "What makes me happy," Kelly said slowly, her voice cool but steady, "is being able to come on shows like this and talk about my music, my work, and the things I'm proud of without having my personal life dissected for entertainment value." The tension was unmistakable now. The playful energy evaporated, replaced by a silence so heavy it seemed to rattle even the production crew. Had begun as light promotion was veering toward live TV disaster. Asterisk crew members began exchanging uneasy glances, sensing the conversation had slipped far from light promotion into hostile territory. Craig Melvin, however, didn't register the growing tension or refuse to let go of what he saw as a moment too good to abandon. "Kelly, I think you might be reading too much into this," Craig said, with a laugh that sounded more nervous than natural. "We're just having a friendly chat. Your fans care about you as a person, not just a performer." For the first time, Kelly's eyes flashed not with humor, but with irritation. Though her voice remained controlled, her words carried an unmistakable bite. And I appreciate that support, Craig. I really do. But caring about someone doesn't mean you're entitled to every detail of their personal life. The clash was unmistakable now. Craig pushed forward, his tone sharpening. I'm not asking for every detail. I'm asking the kind of basic questions any celebrity would expect in an interview. It comes with the territory when you become a public figure. Kelly's face flushed. The warmth she was known for had vanished. When she answered, her voice was edged with steel. What I signed up for was to promote my album and talk about my work. I didn't sign up to justify my personal choices or provide gossip fodder for people who think my private life is their entertainment. The studio's atmosphere, once bright and easy, now felt electric with tension. Crew members fidgeted. Some looked down at the floor. Others glanced nervously toward the control booth. Instead of backing off, Craig pressed harder, his professional smile faltering. Kelly, I think you're being a little defensive here. I'm not trying to invade your privacy. I'm doing my asking questions our viewers want answered. You've been open about your personal struggles before, so I don't understand why this topic is suddenly off limits. Kelly's hands gripped the arms of her chair. Her voice cut through the studio with measured sharpness. Difference between choosing to share your story in your own time and being pushed to reveal things you're not ready to discuss. I thought you would understand that distinction. The cameras kept rolling. Technicians continued their work, though the unease was written on their faces. Craig leaned in, refusing to release control. Look, I respect your right to privacy, but you have to admit one. You build a career around being relatable and authentic. People are naturally going to be curious about your own life. Kelly's eyes narrowed, her voice dropping into a tone that was calm, deliberate, and undeniably dangerous. So, because I give my guests a safe space to share their stories, that means I've forfeited my own right to boundaries. That's an interesting perspective, Craig. He stammered slightly, clearly rattled, but pushed back. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you can't expect people not to ask. Curiosity comes with the brand you've built. Kelly leaned forward now, her voice stronger, more pointed. My brand, as you put it, is built on honesty when I choose to share it. It's built on respect. It's not built on feeding people's curiosity just because they want entertainment at my expense. The tension was unbearable. Staff exchanged worried looks, and someone whispered frantically into a headset, no doubt connecting with producers, scrambling in the control room. And then Craig crossed a line. Kelly, I have to be honest. A reaction like this over basic questions makes people wonder what you're trying to hide. The words hung in the air like a bomb. Kelly's face flushed with anger, and when she spoke, her voice carried fury barely restrained. What I'm trying to hide, she repeated, incredulous. Craig, what I'm trying to do is protect some semblance of normalcy for myself and my children. What I'm trying to do is have relationships that aren't picked apart by strangers. What I'm trying to do is live as a human being who happens to be famous, a famous person who's forgotten how to be human. Craig shifted uneasily in his chair, the first flicker of doubt crossing his face. Kelly, I didn't mean to sug. No, let me finish. Kelly's voice rose just enough to cut him off. Her composure cracked, replaced by raw emotion. You want to know what I'm hiding? I'm hiding the fact that sometimes I cry in my car after interviews like this, because I feel like I can't win. If I share too much, I'm accused of oversharing for publicity. If I guard myself, I'm called difficult or secretive. I'm hiding that my kids ask me why strangers online think they have the right to dissect our lives. That's what I'm hiding. The words hit the room like a gut punch. Several crew members shifted uncomfortably, as though intruding on something private. Craig's expression softened, the defensiveness gone, replaced by guilt. But Kelly wasn't finished. I'm hiding the fact that I sometimes wonder if this career is worth a tiff. It means I have to defend my right to privacy to people who should know better. You have a family, Craig. Would you want every detail of your marriage, your children, your grief, your joy analyzed and judged by millions of strangers? Craig opened his mouth to answer, but Kelly pressed forward, her voice trembling now, with a mix of fury and heartbreak. And do you know what else I'm hiding? I'm hiding how disappointed I am. I respected you as a journalist, as a person. I thought you understood the difference between journalism and gossip. I thought you knew me well enough to see when you were crossing a line. The studio was silent, except for the quiet hum of equipment. Craig looked stricken, as though he'd only just realized how badly the interview had derailed. Kelly, I think maybe I misunderstood, he said softly. No, Craig. Kelly cut in, her tone suddenly calm, almost icy. You understood perfectly. You just chose to prioritize what you thought would make good television over basic decency. You pushed when you should have stopped. And you did it because you wanted a moment people would talk about. She turned briefly toward the camera. Well, congratulations, you got your moment. Craig's face drained of color. He fumbled for words, desperate now. Kelly, I never intended your intentions don't matter, she snapped. Your actions do. And today, your actions proved you're willing to sacrifice someone's dignity for content. That's not journalism. And it's not the Craig I thought I knew. The weight of her words left him silent. He leaned back, eyes darting toward the crew. Aware that millions were watching, Kelly stood, her chair scraping against the studio floor. This interview is over. The shock was immediate. Craig stared up at her, his panic barely concealed. Everyone in the room understood the stakes. This was live television. And one of America's most beloved entertainers was walking off set. Kelly, please, Craig pleaded, his voice stripped of authority. Can we just take a breath? Maybe we got off on the wrong foot. Why don't you sit back down and we'll start over? Kelly looked down at him, disappointment etched across her face. Start over. You can't reset a conversation like it's a machine. You can't unsay what's been said. You can't undo the way you've made me feel. That's not how respect works. Craig tried again, the desperation in his voice plain. Look, I admit I pushed too hard, but that's journalism. Sometimes you have to ask the tough questions to get to the truth. Kelly let out a short, humorless laugh. The truth. Tell me, Craig, what truth were you after? Whether I'm dating someone? How does that serve your viewers? Or were you just hoping for something juicy enough to boost your ratings? Around them, crew members had stopped moving entirely, frozen in place. Off camera, a frantic whisper could be heard in a headset, producers scrambling to salvage the broadcast. Asterisk, that's not fair. Craig protested, his professional veneer gone. You're twisting this into a ratings stunt when all I wanted was to connect with our audience. People care about you because you've been open about your struggles. They want to know how you're really doing. Kelly shook her head slowly. Sadness softening her anger, but cutting even deeper. People relate to me because I choose to share when I'm ready, on my terms. What you tried to do was strip that choice away, like I was a well you could dig for content. That's not connection, Craig. That's exploitation. Her hands moved deliberately to unclip the microphone from her jacket. The gesture was quiet. Final dot. Craig rose abruptly, panic flashing in his eyes. Kelly, come on, you're being dramatic. This is television. We ask questions, people answer, and life goes on. You're acting like I've committed some crime. Kelly paused, the mic half off, and looked at him with profound disappointment. No crime. But you did commit a betrayal. You took someone who trusted you to treat them with basic respect, and you decided your agenda mattered more than their dignity. Her words landed like blows. Craig's face shifted confusion, realization. Shame before he stammered. I never meant it like that. Kelly set the mic on her chair with care. Intentions don't erase impact. You intended to do your job, but you didn't think about how it would affect me. You wanted good television, but you didn't think about the cost of that television. To the person sitting in this chair. She glanced at the crew, frozen in stunned silence. The saddest part. I actually like interviews. I like real conversations. But moments like this, they make me want to retreat, to wall myself off. Kelly. Craig's voice had dropped to a whisper. Please don't let one bad interview change how you do everything. This isn't about one interview, Kelly replied firmly. This is about a culture that treats fame like consent. That assumes being in the public eye means forfeiting humanity. That pattern is what drives people to build walls. She began walking toward the edge of the set, steady and unhurried. Craig trailed after her, desperate. What am I supposed to tell our viewers? Kelly stopped, turned back once more. Her voice was steady now, ringing with finality. Tell them the truth, Craig. Tell them you pushed someone past their boundary for the sake of entertainment. They chose self-respect over your show. Tell them that when you don't honor people's limits, they walk away. Tell them being famous doesn't mean being available on demand. Tell them celebrities are human beings who deserve the same basic courtesy as anyone else. Her voice strengthened. As she delivered the final blow, tell them the people they watch on TV, the ones who bring joy into their lives, are not characters for their consumption. We are real. We have families. We struggle. And we deserve respect. With that, Kelly Clarkson walked off the Today Show set, leaving Craig Melvin frozen in the bright studio lights. Surrounded by stunned crew and rolling cameras, his expression betrayed the dawning realization that nothing his reputation, his show, his audience's trust would ever be quite the same. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the low hum of equipment and the distant chatter of a newsroom. Unaware it had just witnessed television history.